last talk of the afternoon. So is everybody still with us? Are we still all okay? Are we still happy? Have you had a good time? Good. I mean, that was a bit lukewarm. Have you had a good time? Yeah! There we go, look at that. So our last talk of the evening, thank you very much everybody for coming out. I hope you have had a nice time despite me, getting you all geared up. So round of applause for everybody for coming out. Thank you very much for all of these lovely people here on HTC and ASUS and all our lovely gadgets and gizmos. It's been wonderful. So we're going to finish our last talk with our American friends. Well, give it up for Jeremy from XDA Developers.
Thank you very much. Right, should I come? Hugs later. So, yeah, it's great to be here. I've tried to come the last few years, and things just haven't worked out. And so this year, I'm just excited to be here. Obviously, been around with Land Droid for quite a few years, and so missed Glasgow, missed Manchester, Bournemouth was last year, and so just glad to be here in Brum. Yes, as who out here has heard of XDA? I'm sure everybody has heard. Okay, how many of you guys are there on a daily basis? Okay, how many are there on a weekly basis? How many are there monthly? How many are there once when what the flip and disappeared? One. All right, we got it's good. Good. It's good to know. I mean, there's everybody. Everybody's set. It feels like there should be a dance floor here because it's like a ways out there, which is good because I can't see, so I'm going to stand right here and read my stuff. So yes, I'm Jeremy Meiss with XDA Developers. You might find me there under Jerdog. I am a senior moderator, I'm a news writer, I'm a member of a number of the committees, developer committee, moderator committee. My main job for XDA is OEM relations manager, which means it's some fun little thing. It means that I work with reaching out to the different OEMs, giving them a lot of resources, helping them find. One of the things that we constantly found whenever we tried to talk with OEMs was a common problem that they would have is that, okay, we see all this stuff that's out there, but the signal to noise ratio of people, we don't know who we should talk to, we want to interface with the community, we don't know how, and so we created this role about 3 years ago, might even be 4 now, so I reach out to the OEMs and find ways for them to work with the developers, whether it be through some individual kind of programs, or if they want to do contests, or they want to, we've done some stuff with Sony, and we've done some stuff with, we're actually going to be doing some stuff with ASUS as well coming up soon, and with a number of other OEMs, and so finding a way for them to just cut through a lot of that noise and reach out to the developers that really help make the community run, and also giving them a resource that, how many of you guys have people that come to you and ask, what device do you recommend? I'm sure probably every one of us has at one point or another had a family member, a friend, a not-so-friend that wants to know what device, and you've recommended it. And we know that with a group of, we have over 6 million members, as Matthew kind of mentioned earlier, over 6 million members. We have 25 million unique visitors per month that hit the site. And we know that there's a lot of highly influential people that, based on their experience with the device that they have in hand, can influence a OEM's hit on a target market. And so that's part of my role is to interface with them and work with you guys to just find ways to build in that community and help get your name out there. And so that's my main role. It fades off. So And obviously, it's the largest, XDA is the largest mobile development community that is out there. We started back in 2003. So I'm going to kind of go through some of the things we're going to talk about here. There it is. So I'll talk about our beginnings. I'll talk about a lot of the growing pains we've had. Some of you, if you've been around on XDA for a long time, I'm sure you know some of those. And then we'll talk about presently where we're at and some of the things we have planned for the future. And then we'll hopefully, if we have some time, I don't want to take too long. I know we have beers to be drank and things to be won, so I don't want to take too much, but hopefully we'll have some time for the Q&A that's there. So, starting out, who here knows where XDA started? What'd you say?
I thought it was in the Netherlands.
Yes, it was in the Netherlands. Where in the Netherlands? Because you know it's a big place.
We've just agreed I don't know anything about it.
Okay, Amsterdam. It was actually formed in the backyard of a couple guys that in late 2003, they'd gotten these new devices that were coming out, these PDAs, and they enjoyed them, but they thought, they had a real hacker mentality, thought, the people that we bought these from, they want us to use it this way, but we really want to do something more with it. And so they started really hacking away at it. Back then, it was Windows CE, Windows Mobile, or Windows Phone. I forget which one. I don't use, of the 5 people out there that use Windows Phone, I'm not sure what exactly it was called back then. But how many of you guys had one of the old Windows mobile devices? Yeah, and they worked. By today's standards, they were not, anything like what we have today. But back then, it was a novelty. And these guys, these two kind of started this community of people that really just wanted to get together, hack it up. Now we have open source with Android and some of the others that are out there, but Windows has never been that way. And so it took a lot of hacking to change things up, even theming to adding new features. And so their whole desire was to do that and create this kind of community that started out really small. Started out with just a couple guys. The original founders were Peter Pullman, was not his real name. And there's only a few people that actually know who he is in real life. And then it's me. It's not it's me. It's actually the person named It's Me. Again, there's only a few people that actually know, and only one of them is actually still active on XDA. And by active, I mean like once, maybe every 6 months. From there, how many of you guys know where the name XDA originally came from? Predominantly over in that, James.
It's the HTC XDA is when they did for the branding of the O2. So O2 XDA was the name of the HTC Wallaby.
HTC Wallaby, right? Yeah, correct. Anyone know what any of the other names that it was referred to as?
Would it be, there's also the other manufacturers that do like the SPVs and the MDAs?
MDA, yeah, so T-Mobile had an MDA back then, yeah. Q-Tech had one, it was the Q-Tech 1100. There was also, another name was Siemens, back when they actually had phones, it was the Siemens SX56. So that's, XDA came from, and so they all had Wallabies, and they thought, we're going to be developing for this device, so we're going to call ourselves XDA Developers. The name XDA is actually licensed to O2 until 2026, I believe. But they, so that's kind of where XDA Developers came from. It was just a group of guys that wanted to develop on the XDA device. So a couple of the different versions, there was obviously the Wallaby, there's the XDA 2, there was the XDA Zinc, and I don't remember what the last one there is.
Which one?
The one on the bottom right. Gosh, it's been so long. It was an O2 device. I don't remember the exact name on it.
An SPV C500?
It could be. It could be. It was in the UK, or yes, that was a UK device, I believe. So, you know, we've come a long ways. These were devices. Who all had one of these?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So yeah, again, predominantly over on this side. The
I think this is
more mature section, right? The more mature section is over here, and so they've been around a little longer.
The old people, is that what you're trying
Like
to say?
Gary. Really, I was really just pointing out at Gary. Gary, right over there. Anyone that happens to be around Gary. Yeah, there's Dave over there, right? Hi, Dave. All right, so we've undergone, if you guys ever, have spent any time in XDA over the last 12, 13 years, you've definitely seen that we've gone through many a facelift since 2003. I'll show you some of what things look like. This was in 2003. At the time, we had 3,016 registered users. This was at the end of 2003. There were 14 people online at one time, which back then was absolutely amazing.
And probably one of them was me.
Probably. But there were 11 guests. So people that were just browsing that hadn't signed up yet. So that was 2003. We were using the old PHP BB bulletin system that was around for a while. It's still around, but nobody really uses it anymore. And it was just for the XDA device. And there were only 20,000 posts at that point. So fast forward to 2004, things started to change a little bit. We started to write up, do a lot of customization to the software. Still at this time was PHP-BB. Still only one device, but now we'd almost doubled within about a year. Actually, this was a few months after the first one, so within a couple months, we almost doubled to almost 6,000. And in 2006, now we're at almost 130,000 users. We started to see 22 different devices that started to appear on XDA at this point. And all of them, of course, were HTC devices. And we're now at about 300,000 posts, 129,000 users, registered users. We still always had people that would lurk, is kind of the internet term, but they would just kind of sit around, not get involved, but read all the content that was there. And then in 2008, we saw an explosion we were up to about 1 million users at that point. So from 2006 to 2008, grew exponentially, had 1 million users, 2 million posts, but still largely had HTC Windows phones, even though Android was starting to kind of beginning to come along. Still wasn't a huge deal at that moment, but we still just had HTC Windows phones. And then it wasn't until 2009 that the first Android phones started appearing on XDA. And that was a pretty big jump for us. At the time, we were just we'd stuck very much to our origins. The people that had started XDA were still kind of involved, and kind of had the idea that it was just going to be, HTC phones, Windows phones, that's all it was. That's our core, that's what we would be. And then in 2009, obviously, it was really kind of late 2008, early 2009, first Android phones, like I said, started appearing. And by the end of 2009, we had doubled our members and posts just in that short period of time. And 2011, we now start to see 3.5 million users. So in just we're just starting to grow very fast. In 2013, as you can see, kind of if we go back real quick, this will let me go back. Boom. So you see kind of the themes start to change a little bit, get a little more customized. Back on is that little yellow, still keeping the brown around. 2013, 4.5 million users. And things are starting to take shape. We started to have a news portal and started to really kind of take a lot of the information that was out there on the internet and present it to our users. And then today we have 6.3 million, it's actually 6.29, but I rounded up, 6.3 million users today and 56 million posts. And at any one time, we will have, we've had sometimes 400,000 plus users on at any one time. I'm sorry, 400 some thousand active users. We have had up to 100,000 users on at one point. Obviously, as a site grows that big, there's going to be if you've spent any time in server management, you know your headaches start to grow and grow and grow. And so we've obviously gone through a number of changes. Some of those headaches, obviously, we talked about the facelifts. In early 2009, we sold to JB Online Media, which is a group of guys that really were very passionate about mobile, and started to see this site. They really were interested in XDA. They're kind of enthusiasts at heart. And the original founders had, as life happens, they kind of move on and weren't really able to give a lot of attention to it. The site was growing just by leaps and bounds by 2009, as we just talked about, and they couldn't devote the attention needed and make the decisions that were needed from a server perspective, from a user perspective, from management. And so they sold the site, JB Online Media, in 2009, and JB Online committed to growing XDA and becoming more maintaining that developer focus. James, do you remember what year you actually joined?
2004.
Okay.
2004. Well, when I bought the O2 XDA, so that would have been 2003, 2004.
Late 2003. Okay. So you've seen a lot of changes in the site and all of that. Okay. So obviously there's going to be growing pains. If you grow as fast and as vast as something like this does, there's going to be growing pains. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those. Some of those we're still feeling. It's just the nature of the beast. It is the internet after all. Attack of the trolls. Like I said, if you spend any time at XDA, any time on the internet, you find any forum, any even news outlets, you're going to have people that just, keyboard warriors, call them what you want.
Assholes.
Assholes. That works really well too. It's a good term. I'm going to start using that one. Yeah, assholes. Everybody has them, and we tend to have a lot of them, actually. And so, it just happens. And around the time that things started to grow exponentially, we realized that we had a growth in self-entitled users who were demanding. They hounded developers about ETAs, got really out of hand, generally acted like little children. And you would think that maybe a lot of them were. A lot of them weren't. Even at this time, back in late 2009, 2010, the average age of users that was on XDA was still above 18, 19, 20, into the mid-20s. A lot of these people just, assholes. Easiest way to explain it. And acted like little children. There's a name for anonymous nuisances on the internet. It is troll, obviously. I do want to thank Gary for posing for the next graphic. It's one that I asked him, could he send me a picture in? I wanted to kind of give like an anatomy of what an internet troll really looks like. And so he took a selfie. He used a selfie stick and took the selfie, sent it in. And I really appreciate that. It's showing us the anatomy of an internet troll. So they're mischievous. Flame Wars is there. They have junk food input. They have no pity, rage, bitter irony, a lot of bile, hair in unexpected places. I appreciate you didn't send that photo. They rarely use their muscles except for occasional stretches, excited jiggle reflex. They are constantly junk food. They sit at a computer for long hours and type idiotic, stupid comments. In fact, a good friend of mine is here and has had to deal with quite a few of those in the past. And it's just, the reality is any internet forum, we're not immune to it. But at the time, we just weren't prepared to deal with it. So, gone through those growing pains. We also had a growth in caning the work of others and then begging for donations. You guys have all probably seen somebody that takes something that somebody else has done, maybe changed up a few things, and then said, give me monies, or donate please, or comes up with something about the fact that they lost their job, or they need a computer, and they should be donated to because they spent all of 15 minutes repackaging a WinZip, and you know, we call them WinZip devs. They just repackaged the WinZip and said, hey, give me money. Sadly, there are a number of people I know that actually, did I just shut this off? No, I didn't. Okay. A number of people I know that make a pretty good living from donations, from ROMs that they've actually canned from people. Or that they take a theme, put it on there, and then say, this is the bestest work. You probably all have seen the, hey, this is the best battery life, and it's the fastest, and it's amazing, and it's great. And it's just the same thing. The snake oil is definitely prevalent out there. But it's, you know, there's a growth in that, and like I said, we had growing pains there. So we also had that rapid expansion on the exterior, but we were slow to respond as a company and really as a community. And so we started doing, the moderator committee kind of stepped up and says, you know, we need to get some good people involved, moderators that really need to step up and help kind of curate the site and help it grow. And so respond to it. Obviously, population explosion. Many of them were Americans. I will gladly say that we suck. And I hate Americans almost as much as probably most of the world, and have no qualm saying it. There we go. So at the time, in 2009, we only had 20 moderators that were moderating at that time, almost 1 million users and 20-some million posts that were out there, or 2 million posts that were out there. And so we obviously realized we needed more. We needed people that really had a passion for development and had a passion for helping out the community. And so we started to grow that. We formed a moderator committee. We were tasked with streamlining selection and assignment of moderators that were in the different sections, and so that way people could really, really help out the community. We started taking applications for people that wanted to be a moderator, and if you do want to be a moderator on XDA, you feel like you'd love to, see me, we can talk. It has its moments. Now we have over 100 different FSMs, we have senior moderators, and things have definitely changed, I think, for the better from where it was back then, but it's an internet site. It just happens. Things sometimes get out of hand. Presently, so I said we have almost 6.5 million users. We're really helping to try and return to our developer roots. Part of that is why we focused on OEM relations, to help with that kind of developer, getting a lot of the independent developers that are creating a lot of the things out there can offer a wealth of information to OEMs. And so, returning to those roots, we started up different programs to help highlight, recognized developers, senior recognized developers, recognized contributors, those that are really contributing and giving them, some place on the site, different themers that have done a really good job, different programs there. We started creating a lot of different environments where devs can help learn. We started up something called XDA University, which is a place for people to kind of share their ideas and how do you become a better developer, and how do you, give back to the community and learn about open source and learn about how all that stuff works. So we've really tried to give back in that way. And then we've tried to emphasize quality, helping people that really put stuff out there that's quality, not just quantity, not just throwing stuff out and move on to the next thing. We really want quality work because it helps everybody. But there's also this thing called original versus derivative work. And so you've all seen like those stock ROMs. We talked about snake oil. An example here is somebody that took Mona Lisa. A stock ROM is something that they had a vision from an OEM, and they put it out there. And then you have somebody that has kind of taken that and said, you know what, I kind of like that idea, but I want to do something really original. And I'd say that's a pretty original piece of work. It has its basis in the Mona Lisa, to some extent because, for this instance, it's Android, but it's definitely original. And then both are working towards perfection. They're both working to try and create something that's original and new and amazing. That's what we want to encourage. We have the derivative works, which is somebody takes a stock ROM, and then they do little minor things like this, and they say, "Give me money." That's not work, and there's a place for it, but we really want to encourage people to do the original stuff, not the color something up, put a new set of sunglasses on it, graffiti it up, and say, "Hey, please give me money." It's not what we want to encourage. And so if you've ever spent some time on XDA, you've seen in a lot of the new sections, we have the original Android development section, and then we have just the regular Android development section, pushing people to really think about if you're going to create a kernel or you're going to create a new built from source. You have CyanogenMod, you have OmniROM, you have Slim, you have a number of these original products that kind of take their own take on Android and work with different people and try and bring out a new product. Those are the things we want to encourage. There's a place for people that want to just take a stock ROM and add a little bit, and that's great, but we really want to encourage the quality over the quantity. And then, of course, there's GPL compliance. And we talked a little bit earlier, Teo talked about the OEMs and some of the little issues that come in as they're trying to get products out, and they struggle sometimes, depending on who they use for their source for some of their hardware. A lot of the ODMs, especially those that are coming out from the design houses in China, putting everything together and then sending it out. Mobile World Congress was a great event. I loved it. But yeah, you go through some of those spots and you see stuff that's just, I saw one device that I know I've seen on 3 different companies that came from this one real original device manufacturer, and it's like, oh yeah, I know what that device is. It's XYZ, and that's just going to happen. And one of the issues that really comes out is that GPL v2. How many of you guys are familiar with what GPL is? A few of you, okay. So basically, it's a public general public license version 2, and that's the license that the Linux kernel, which obviously Android is based on, is covered. And so that requires that whoever is distributing software has to provide the kernel source. Some companies do it to where even weeks before the device is released, they've released their kernel source that allows developers to either throw that into custom ROMs and start to build from source derivatives of Android. It also takes people that want to create actually their own custom kernels for those devices that are going to be coming out. They can take that and building on the work of others, which is the whole idea that Linus had when he went this whole route and with the Linux kernel, licensed it, is that he wanted the community to always be giving back. And you stand, when you're a kernel developer, you're an OEM, when you're releasing software, you're standing on the shoulders of people that have come before you, creating that groundwork. And so, Linus wanted everybody to honor that. The sad thing is there are people that just don't. Sometimes it is a matter of them not having gotten the specific things from their ODM. Some OEMs, they say that. The reality is that, from a licensing perspective, the law doesn't, there is a law for that. It's copyright law, and you have to have that available. And so we really encourage, and it's part of our thing too, is, my role is to work with the OEMs and different companies out there that are sending out work that is based on GPL and other licenses that are out there, that they really help contribute and understand that there are developers out there that have code either that's been submitted into the Linux mainstream, or they have work that could definitely benefit other companies. There really is not that much, especially when it comes down to the kernel level, that is that unique from anyone else. And so, everybody has something that they can offer. And so we really try and work with not only the developers on XDA to make sure that they're in compliance, and we have our own set of rules that build upon GPL v2. As a community, we require that if you're going to submit something that's based on the work of someone else, you need to make sure you say it came from that person. The GPL does not require that. We require that as kind of that extra going above and beyond. But it's, we really want to encourage more and more open source opportunities within the community because everybody benefits. And that's been our driving force with XDA, the things we've done our own developer conferences in the last couple of years. We're going to be having one this year, later on this year. And we really wanted to give back to the community because we feel like when the community gives, we give, everybody benefits, and there's that karma, and the same thing applies when it comes to open source. So that's that. We have a number of things going on in the future. We're always upgrading. If you happen to notice, the theme for not only XDA, but the theme for the portal has changed over the last few years, but even within the last few months, the news portal itself has gone through a lot of change. And we really are trying to encourage timely information that is presented. We want to create new features for developers so that we have what's called DevDB, which allows you, if you're going to create something, a place you can store files on a very fast server worldwide. You don't have to use some of these that you never know where exactly they're hosted. We have a huge file server that we provide for users. We can provide source control. We can provide issue management, all those different things that we want to provide for developers and create a good central spot for you, the service. We're always looking for new tools, new ideas. If you have any, that if you're a developer out there and you would love to see a certain thing that you feel like could be really helpful for you on XDA, come talk to me. And we're always looking for ideas that can help give back to the community. All of that's free that we give for the user. It's not something that we charge saying, hey, you can use our file server, but you have to pay. No, it's completely free. It's a service for you guys. And we're always looking for those things we can give back. It's also why we created just about a little over a year ago a professional development services company to help companies that are looking for ways to work with the community, work with developers to create new works, and sometimes don't know how to get a hold of developers to work on a project or to help work on custom software. And so that's a company that I manage with XDA. And we want to continue to give back to the community in every possible way we can. So that kind of gives a huge dump of kind of who XDA is, where we've come from, where we are now, where we're going. Any questions? I'd make this nice and quick. Yes?
Are you able to share with us anything about your revenue model?
Ads. It is. To be honest, we have a lot of servers and a lot of staff. We actually have 6 full-paid, full-time staff that work from servers. We have 1 main server admin, and then we have database admin. We have a couple PHP developers that have to keep the site going and adding all these new features. If anybody's familiar with vBulletin, is a pretty popular forum software. We have had to, with all the things that we do with it, and as large as we are, it's never really made to run a site as large as XDA. And so we've had to, we have developers that spend day in, day out, keeping it running, adding new features and all of that. So the revenue model is ads and sponsorships. So we have, OEMs that will sponsor, they want to sponsor XDA TV, which is our YouTube channel, essentially. And so they want to sponsor that, and so that goes right back into the site. We don't make money outside of what we have to spend in order to keep the site going. There's a lot of people out there that say, you look Alexa and all those, they give all the nice little, say, hey, such and such a site makes X amount. ads. People don't click on ads anymore. They just don't. So the revenue model is obviously ads and sponsorships, but our driving force has always been to put that right back to the community. So for instance, DevCon, like we've done the last few years, we operate at a break even every time. Everything goes back, which is why we offer food. We do this crazy. I think some of you guys were there in Manchester this year, and we want to make it a good community and continue to give back to the community. So. Anyone else? Yes.
Do you have any plans to work on perhaps tweaking or improving like thread searches and things? We often hear from people that they couldn't find easily. Some threads are quite, when they get to a certain size, it's perhaps not the most intuitive or responsive search in terms of and you can often get duplicate posts where the answer was already in a thread and people just not bother to look because the search is somewhat inefficient.
It's one thing when it's 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, but when you have 300 pages in one thread, it's hard to find. Yeah, you're right. And it's, one of our forum rules is search. But you're right, search is it's not as intuitive as it could be. Part of the issue with that is vBulletin was not designed for such a large site. We're at the point now where if we want to change search, and that's one thing that we're constantly trying to work on, we would have to completely redo the site. Start with a whole new forum software and migrate everything there. So those are things we are exploring on a pretty regular basis. There are things that we've done to try and make search better. I think it has gotten better, but it's not where I would love to see it. But we're also not Google. So there's, we've tried to make it, we've added, if you've spent any time, you've probably seen the thread links are now more descriptive. They actually use the English language instead of this thread number. It actually, we added a lot more SEO stuff that allows for people searching for information outside of XDA itself to find what they're looking for a lot quicker. We've put in Google custom search in areas that we can, and that has helped, but it is something we're very aware of. We'd love it to be better than it is. Yes?
Where do the bulk of people log on from? Is it browser or mobile apps? Like the desktop or mobile apps?
Obviously not from that. Is that one of those that the charger exploded it? Is that one of those expanded?
Yeah, because we had to use blue tack, but we have who's actually fixing it for us, which is quite nice.
Oh, that's good guy HTC. Yeah. So the question is, where's the traffic, desktop and mobile? Still predominantly desktop based. But we have, over the last 2 years, obviously, as the rest of the internet has seen, mobile browsing has gone up. That's one of the reasons why we devoted a lot of attention to redoing our theme so that it was a lot more mobile responsive. With something like threads and all of that, it's very difficult to make something with all of that text that's easy enough to read without having to scroll through so much. And so mobile is just a challenge within a forum structure, but it has gotten better, and so we are focusing on that. We also started our own forum app instead of using Tapatalk, which bears with it the common term tap-a-crap. If you ever use Tapatalk, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is crap. We've moved away from it. From a company perspective, we have created our own that we've open sourced, and we want people to contribute to the app to help make it better. So that's kind of a plug too. If you would love to work on the XDA app, come see me. We're working with people to try and drive that to get better. The core app itself works, and it's a lot better than browsing on the web. But I would say, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I wouldn't say it's exactly 50-50 yet in terms of browser and desktop, or desktop and mobile, sorry. Anyone
I
else?
have a quick question.
Yes?
This is my curiosity. but have you ever in the past, or potentially see yourself in the future, potentially come across any legal issues with the fact that you are facilitating the download of what some people, some brands might see as illegal copies of their software? Just out of curiosity, if that's happened in the past, or if you guys are covered.
We have OEMs constantly contact me and say, hey, such and such is out there. The reality is it's Apache. You can do whatever you want with it. Yeah. Now, there are certain things that that an OEM has created that has certain licensing itself that is different, but nobody has the source code for that. So it's a very sticky situation when it comes down to it. Where appropriate, we'll take things down. We have, obviously, if somebody has signed in, and I've done this with HTC, I've done this with some other companies, if somebody's part of a special program where they've had to sign an NDA saying they're not going to leak something, and that software gets out there, I'll remove it in a heartbeat, because there's certain legal things. Outside of that, it's a case-by-case basis. We honor, we respond. We actually have an open GitHub that puts all of our DMCA takedown requests. We throw them up there so everybody can see what somebody's requesting be taken off, and then we respond appropriately. When it comes down to it, Android, like I said, the framework, core Android, is it's Apache. So, but again, it just,
I was only asking because I'm a fan and I'll be heartbroken for XDA.
Understood, right? No, and I understand that.
It's been difficult.
I understand. No, I welcome the question because, like I said, we take it on a case-by-case basis, yeah. and I'll analyze those and look at it and make a decision from there. It's also one of the reasons why Google does not. Choose my words carefully. Formally acknowledge XDA from a. They don't formally acknowledge us, even though we're a lot of stuff's going on that's helping them grow. And in fact, I know personally of a number of Google engineers, Android engineers, that spend time on XDA, but they don't formally acknowledge it. Because by doing so, that puts some of their partners a little angry, I'm sure at times. There's various reasons for it, and I know some of them, and I can't speak to them. But it's, that's why we don't get a lot of hand-holding or handshakes from Google.
I know when I first started getting into Android, and in fact when Android was first starting out, I know almost all of the people who come to these kind of events will have visited XDA just for the simple fact that it wasn't, how can I phrase this, because we've got a lot of Android friends, it wasn't good enough, and XDA developers and the people on XDA developers found ways to make it work, you know, and even up through, like my HTC Hero is one of my favourite devices ever. Love the big chin, it was great, but
I can see why.
Yeah?
I can see why you like the big chin.
Yeah. I've got a solid chin.
Selfies back then.
But after a very, very short time, it didn't cut the mustard. You went to XDA, you put a new ROM on it, bang, it worked, I know that Stu's got a G1 that I think he managed to get, did we get KitKat on the G1 in the end?
There was somebody did,
Yeah, and the HD2, it was just such a fun device to do. As we've gone on, the ROMs have become more, I think, like AOSP and Cyanogen owes, this is my personal opinion, that Cyanogen owes everything to XDA because it's where it started and it's where it came from, and and fair play to them, they've got to make it a business, which is what any developer wants, to have accomplished. And so I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of XDA. But does anybody have any more questions, Jeremy?
You can come and talk to me afterwards as well.
I tell you what, we'll hold off. Come and talk to him afterwards because I've got to give you guys more gifts. Like, we've got to get through it. It's starting to get dark. I know that like this contingent here are very ROM orientated, but also very drink orientated. So we will need to get out and have a few of those in a bit. So can we have a round of applause for Jeremy? Thank you.